Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Wednesday, October 15. Let's get right into the market breakdown. First things first, let's go over the trades that we are currently in. AUD we entered on Monday. It sold. Then we sat through an entire pullback, almost to break even. At this point right here, I set my stop loss to break even. That's why this alarm is right here. Price came back into the area of interest. I was not interested in re-entering. Instead, I just entered, excuse me, USD CHF. USD CHF, pretty clean trade overall. I do expect a continuation to the downside. I just do not know how far that continuation will go and when we will get it. So just for a quick breakdown, the weekly time frame is very, very clearly bearish on AUD CHF. And it is very, very bearish on USD CHF. Daily time frame here is currently bullish. Daily time frame here is currently bearish. Okay, we're under the EMA on the daily time frame, and we are under the EMA on the daily time frame here as well. What I waited for is I waited for the 4-hour time frame to go bearish. Then we had a pullback. Then we sold. We got underneath the EMA. We pulled back and we engulfed to the downside. At this point, I entered, can't say impulsively, there just wasn't really much of like pullback and engulfing candle. It was more so like we were creating, well, what did I enter based on? I remember there was a very, very distinct entry that I took. And now I can't see what I was looking at myself. I thought that there was more of like a little bit of a trend line that we broke underneath, and then we came back, we retested it, and then we sold. But now I'm not really seeing that. It might have been a different pair that I was looking at. Um, but yeah, anyways, gold had not gold. USD CHF was just making bearish market structure. When I entered, I set my stop loss above this high, above the EMA. It was mostly above the 30-minute structures that I was interested in setting myself under. I think it was something like this, where I was looking at price to break underneath, retest, and then it sold. Now, where we are, what do we expect to happen? Well, this 4-hour candle closes in the next hour. I expect it to close somewhat with a longer wick, and then I expect there to be a pullback. Pullback is likely to happen into this area and into this wick right here. It's hard to see, but there is a wick right there. And if not, then it might pull back higher, all the way back to entry and retest the EMA when that happens. Now, one thing I am a little concerned about is the fact that we have similar structure in the past where if you look at this right here and you look at this right here, looks very, very similar where price kind of created a very, very bullish move. And then we sold and then we pulled back pretty aggressively and then we sold. If I zoomed in right here, you'll see how many losses I took in this area. I mean, it was one after another. I was looking for sells and I was looking for buys and I was looking for sells. And it was just, I couldn't catch a single move throughout this area. Now, I don't want to get caught in the same type of price action here. I want something like this rather than something like this. That being said, we're already in the trade. We're already in the trade. The 1-hour candle here closed. And this 1-hour candle opened directly upwards. What I'm hoping happens is right now we're just creating this little wick, and then price will then close to the downside with a bearish candle. That would be best case scenario. Once again, like I said earlier, there's a chance that we pull back into maybe these structures right here in order to continue to sell. Now, I guess we could have taken profit out of 1 to 2. That would have been a solid profit target. But no, the profit target is the 4-hour structure right here. and also daily structure. So daily is bullish from here to here. Price will have to retest this area before we go bearish. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm expecting. If price closes on the daily time frame as is, then what we could probably expect is just a wick to the upside tomorrow, maybe retesting the daily EMA, and then a continuation to the downside. Overall, I do expect sells. CHF pairs have always been or are currently very, very bearish. And I just think that price will probably break underneath this weekly structure, or at least wick underneath the weekly candles right here. Same thing with USD or AUD CHF. In fact, this one looks so much cleaner. If you notice, there's no bottom wick on this weekly candle. So we're basically riding it for free all the way into this structure. And considering this, I can also expect a continuation on this pair as well. Okay. So those two coincide very, very closely. And that's why I'm willing to hold. That's why I was holding this entire move all the way back to break even. We were up 3.2%, and then we pulled back literally all the way to where I was about to lose the trade because we had stop losses set at break even. All right, so now that those are taken out of the way, let's go look at these other pairs really quickly. Bitcoin continuing to sell as expected. We're underneath the EMA. We broke underneath very aggressively, retested, sold. I expect it to sell all the way into this area of interest before we get any type of pullback to the upside. We kind of have like a little bit of a trend line going on here as well. If you want to count this as a trend line, then that's a trend line right there. So we are currently trading above the trend line, which could be the reason why we're seeing so much consolidation in this area. But overall, I would expect Bitcoin to sell for a little while. Yes, it's very, very bullish long term. I know Alex said that he expects Bitcoin to take off in the next 5-10 years, which is true. I think I expect the same thing. But short term, I think that we're going to see some more chop happening. What we usually see is price returning to the EMA. If you notice what's happening right now, we're creating like a double top pattern, 1, 2. What happens 1, 2, return to EMA, take off. 1, 2, 3, return to EMA, take off. Okay, so price does create these double top structures, return to EMA, and then continue to push up. That's kind of why I have this area of interest drawn right here, because by the time price does manage to close within this area of interest, then the EMA will probably catch up to price and meet it in the middle between, like, we're not going to drop all the way down to here. We're probably just going to meet price in the middle with the EMA. SPX. So we had quite some news happen last Friday, which tanked price when it opened. We literally opened and went directly downwards after a small little spike. Since then, we have seen quite the push up. Now, Trump is a very confusing man. He says one thing, he tweets one thing and then does another thing, or he tweets one thing and then says another thing in a press conference. So he contradicts himself a lot, and I think that's on purpose. He's playing everyone like fiddles, you know. He's a very smart man. Everyone thinks he's an idiot. He's not an idiot. Idiots don't make billions of dollars. Like, I'm pretty smart. I don't have $1 billion, you know. So he's definitely smarter than me, and he knows how to manipulate people and emotions. So what he has done is he created a huge move to the downside, and then he said, "Oh, I take it back. The president of China and I are in great relations, and we're going to figure this all out." Now, if they were really on great relations, don't you think that China wouldn't have even imposed those tariffs in the first place? Like, Trump and China have had it out for each other for quite a long time. His last presidency, they had some tensions going on, and this presidency even more so. So when I see a huge move to the downside like this, I don't just think, oh, that was, we're just going to continue to go up from here. You can't assume that until price successfully breaks above this high. As soon as we break above this high, everything Trump said is no longer applicable to our current situation. But as of right now, all I see is that we're retesting the EMA, creating a double top right here. So I probably expect a continuation to the downside. And that's funny as well because you see how we're at the perfect point where sellers should come back into this market to sell. But I just got a notification on my phone from a news group saying that Treasury Secretary said that we are about to see major gains in investment productivity and job growth across America. So he's influencing people to go long on the market, when in reality, there's probably going to be a very short and swift move to the downside before all of those investments, happen. I'm sure he's telling the truth, but the truth isn't always the truth we want to hear. And it's not always the truth for today. It might be the truth for next week. But as you can see, sellers are definitely in control of this market. Huge move to the downside, consolidation up, huge move to the downside, consolidation up, just continuation to the downside. You see how the moves to the downside are usually more aggressive than the moves to the upside. Here, this is a little bit different, but you can see aggressive move down, small move up, aggressive move down. All we're really looking for is a break below, say, the 30-minute EMA. As soon as that happens, we'll retest 30-minute EMA, create head and shoulders pattern, retest, and then sell. That's kind of what I expect here. Same thing with NASDAQ. Once again, until price breaks above these highs right here, we're going to be selling. Daily time frame and 4-hour time frame are bearish from the exact same point, which is at the high. But yeah, gold. If anyone has been watching or catching gold, it's been moving. It's been moving very nice. Yesterday, I entered a small position after we kind of had this reaction off of the 30-minute EMA, and I was going to hold up until the high. And then I saw some people chatting saying, that's not going to do that. And it made me second guess myself a little bit. So I actually exited my position. So I entered like right here. I can't lie. I entered like right here. I have to look exactly where it was. And I exited like right there. So I made, a couple $100s or whatnot. It was actually an account challenge. And my full take profit was up here. And it would have gotten hit. Now, I do think that price will continue to go up. I mean, there's no reason for it to stop right now. Tons of volatility in terms of people's emotions. Everyone's unsure right now. And I can't, none of us are too sure either. Gold to 5K. Yeah, you've been saying that too. My goal to 5K was goal to 4K, and that actually came to fruition. So I do believe that we could maybe hit 5K, but geez, 5K is a ways away. Yeah, somebody's gonna have to get nuked for gold to get to 5K by the end of the year. We got what, 2 months left? Month and a half, 2.5 months. Okay, so dollar index broke underneath this EMA, already starting to sell. Now we had pulled back. This kind of looks like now USD CHF and Euro CHF look identical. And Euro USD, what am I saying? Euro USD looks like the dollar index, but inverted. Where's Euro USD? Okay, so Euro USD, same thing, but inverted, and then also kind of looks the same as USD CHF, but also inverted, I believe. Anyways, long story short, I do believe we're going to continue to sell. I think we're going to be targeting this wick right here was a manipulation. We swept the low, we pushed up into previous structure, into area of interest, retesting EMA and whatnot. This kind of looks exactly like the USD CHF trade we're taking right now. Yeah, I mean, it looks almost the exact same thing. We sold, had a buying candle, doji candle, sold. We sold, had a buying candle, doji candle, sold. So I do expect continuation to the downside here, as well as a continuation to the downside here. Who's blowing up the Discord right now? Oh, hell yeah, Monty is. I was on a Zoom call with him earlier today, and he passed some of his funded accounts, which is super hype. All right, so we already went over these. We're underneath the area of interest, just going to be expecting a continuation to the downside for both of them. USD CAD, USD CAD weekly time frame, very bullish. Daily time frame, very bullish. Now we did have this like rejection candle right here yesterday. Now, after a doji candle like this, you could probably expect a continuation to the downside. Now, we did have a reaction from previous structure, and as I had mentioned before, after this reaction, I was expecting buys, but I reconsidered the buys because we were going to take USD CHF sells. So I don't want to be trading the USD both up and down at the same time. I want to pick a direction and stick to it. And to me, there was a higher chance of USD CHF selling than there was USD CAD buying. And the reason for that being was at USD CHF, we are underneath a daily area of interest. So we broke above it. We then came back into it underneath the EMA, underneath the daily area of interest. Here on USD CAD, we were only retesting a 4-hour area of interest. There is no daily area of interest until like right here. So this is like the nearest daily area of interest. You have 1, 2, 3 structure points. If you want to restructure it, you can go down to this structure point. You have 1, 2, 3 structure points, maybe 4 here. So I do expect price to, if we're going to be taking buys, I want to be taking buys from down here. That's where I want to be taking buys. It doesn't make sense to take buys short term off of a 4-hour area of interest because there's a chance we might get short-term buys and then just sink into this area of interest and then just continue to climb from there. So still going to be waiting on USD CAD. Since we have broken through this area, I don't think we're going to reject it anytime soon. So we're no longer interested in USD CAD for buys, and we're not going to be taking sells. Counter trend just doesn't make sense right now. Wow. Euro CHF. Literally spot on to the analysis. We were very bearish. Daily time frame, 4-hour time frame, everything. Very, very bearish. We created a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, retested area of interest, retested EMA, and sold. So this is as perfect as it gets in terms of market structure. I'm sad that we were unable to catch this one. Yeah, this one could have been a loss, and let me tell you why. The shift of structure. So if you were looking at 30-minute shift of structure, then actually that's a lie. This right here is an elbow. So that's an elbow right there, higher high, shift of structure, pull back, sell. So our entry would have been right under here, and then our stop loss would have been right up here. But in terms of 30 minutes, you could have potentially been confused and entered after the break of this little structure, even though that's not really an elbow. If you did enter after the structure, you would have basically entered right here and then been taken out immediately. I've been caught in those same moves multiple times. It sucks, but it does teach you a little bit of a lesson. But now Euro CHF is creating a lower low. What can we expect? Well, what have we seen so far? We've seen a lower low and a pullback, a lower low and a pullback. So where's the next pullback going to happen to? Well, here we had a 4-hour structure point. Now, previous structure is technically right here. This is previous structure. If price is to pull back into this previous structure right here, we could potentially see a continuation to the downside. Now, understand that we are not trading from a daily EMA anymore. We're now just trading from a 4-hour structure point. I guess or not daily EMA, daily area of interest. I guess we could find one here. Okay, so we do have one here, but we are pretty far away from it. It's in fact the exact area of interest that we reacted from initially. So yeah, very, very nice sell from this daily area of interest. Now we could either expect price to return to the daily area of interest, retest EMA a little bit better, because if we do return and then we retest, EMA will probably hug price a little bit closer rather than just getting a wick up into the EMA, we might actually get like a body touch of the EMA, and then we will sell from right here. If not, then we'll just likely see a continuation to the downside. Okay, GBP USD. GBP USD, we were going to be looking for sells. Weekly time frame was bearish. Now, I did mention this. I mentioned us looking for buys from this area of interest right here. We were looking for price to react from the weekly EMA, and we're going to be looking for buys from there. Now, we were selling because the weekly time frame was bearish, the daily time frame was bearish, and the 4-hour time frame was bearish. That is no longer the case. Whoops. The 4-hour time frame has now gone bullish. We can almost assume that the weekly time frame is also going to go bullish soon, or within the next few days. Let's see. What is a good comparison? Euro USD. Where's my Euro USD? All right, let's slap these side by side. Euro USD, I'm looking for buys. Okay, so we have this double bottom created. We broke above, we retested the double bottom. We are kind of retesting the EMA, and we're about to take off. I'm not going to lie. But what does this show us? Let's see. Weekly time frame. Euro USD. The weekly time frame is bullish. Now you'll notice market structure is very similar on Euro USD and GBP USD. Except for here, the weekly time frame went bearish for the short-term sells. And here, whoops, and here it actually remained bullish. So we can assume since they move similarly and Euro USD already had a 4-hour shift to the upside, so the 4-hour is bullish. So now what do we have on Euro USD that we don't have on GBP USD? We have 2 time frames in sync. Now we can probably assume that we can use the weekly time frame from Euro USD to apply it to GBP USD. Otherwise, we'll have to wait for the daily time frame to go bullish. And that's going to happen all the way up here. Okay. So we either have to wait for a lower low and then a shift of structure, or we just have to wait for price to break above here in order to buy, which is going to take a while, right? So if you want to trade GBP USD, you can probably already start looking for buys, even though you only have 1 time frame in sync. But your second time frame in sync is your confluence on Euro USD, which is the weekly bullish time frame. Okay. And now you can see how we've created this double bottom. We're retesting the area of interest, which is at the neckline. We are starting to react to the upside. We're starting to break above the EMA. All I can expect to see is now bullish market structure to start forming and continue forming. Yeah, because we have this lower low, shift the structure, and we are now bullish. Okay. So there we go. So my analysis for GBP USD has gone from bearish to now bullish. We're going to be looking for buys now. Okay. And we are now also above this daily area of interest. Daily area of interest has 1, 2, a few wicks. I'm not sure why it only has 2 structure points. I guess this could be our third one right here. So yeah, now we have 1, 2, 3 structure points, daily area of interest. 4-hour time frame has broken above the EMA. We have created a higher high. Now what we're going to do is we're going to wait for a pullback to create the higher low, which is probably going to be a retest of the double top or double bottom, the neckline right here, and the EMA. It might not be as aggressive. It might only be a small little pullback and then a continuation to the upside along with Euro USD, which we will also be looking for buys. Next, GBP AUD. GBP AUD, weekly time frame, bullish, daily time frame, bullish. We had a pullback into daily structure, and we started to react to the upside. 4-hour time frame had a higher high, had a pullback, had a reaction, had another pullback into the EMA, as it likes to do so many times. You can see how it reacts, pulls back, reacts, pulls back, reacts, pulls back, reacts, every single time, but it's always moving down. So now we're probably going to see the same thing, except for now we're always going to be moving up. Okay. Just the way the pair likes to move. We can't judge it for the way it likes to move, right? Anyways, it just gives us more opportunities to enter. I do expect a continuation to the upside from here. I really don't think that we're going to get another pullback to the downside, but if we do, which we have seen multiple times, we will have another entry opportunity. Now, if GBP AUD doesn't work out, then we have GBP NZD. Well, actually, no. GBP NZD is the one that's not going to work out because it is the one that has already taken off away from the area of interest. So let's break this one down really quickly. Weekly time frame is bullish. Daily time frame. Please don't say my Wi-Fi went out. That is unfortunate. There we go. Okay. Wi-Fi did not go out. If my Wi-Fi goes out and my screen freezes, just message me in the Discord. Just hold on tight. Be patient. Daily time frame, bullish. We had a quick pullback into this previous structure. Now the pullback looked much cleaner on the 4-hour time frame. You can see how we had a 4-hour push, 4-hour pullback, continuation, pullback, continuation. Very, very clean. Just like we broke down, every single one of these areas of interest functioned for something. Now we can start to erase them and just keep a daily area of interest. Now, do we have a daily area of interest? Not really. There's 0 daily areas of interest close to where we are, except for this one. And this one has already been used right here, where we pushed up, we pulled back into the daily area of interest, and then we had the reaction to the upside. So right now, this is untradeable. GBP NZD has already left our daily area of interest. And if you want to be taking buys, then you'll have to wait for a pullback into previous structure. And that would be a 4-hour area of interest. So it's a little bit less structurally sound, but it could still work just like it has for this little trade right here. On the other hand, GBP AUD is still in a position to where you might be able to enter a trade. And the reason that I prefer GBP AUD over GBP NZD is because look at where we are. Here, we're at the very highest point in this market's history. We're not in the market's history, but since 2015. Over here on GBP AUD, we have market structure. We can target this high, we can target this high, we can target this high, and they're all recent structures, which is fantastic. That's exactly what we want to see when we're trading the markets. So now we can just use these structures as both targets and as areas of interest, because what do we have here? We have another area of interest. So if price ever comes into this area, we can either expect a reaction to the downside, or we can break above, retest, and buy, which is exactly what we need in order to take buys. Anyways, as of right now, all we're really waiting for is a pullback to get a better entry on this move. If you're already in the move, then congratulations. You are in a great trade. We might get a micro pullback, something into a 30-minute structure or something like that. We probably won't come all the way back into the area of interest. We'll probably see something like this, a lot more short term. But you never know. You never know. Price has done this multiple times. Euro AUD. Euro AUD weekly time frame is bullish. Daily time frame created a higher high, so we broke above this structure point. We're bullish. We pulled back into the area of interest, into the EMA. 4-hour time frame, pulled back, pushed up. We're currently pulling back as well. Very similar to the way that the GBP USD and GBP or GBP AUD and GBP NZD look. Euro AUD and Euro NZD are going to be the same structures. In fact, you can see how these two side by side, NZD is clearly moving quicker than AUD. So AUD is lagging behind just a little bit on both pairs. That doesn't mean they're not going to continue up. They're probably both going to end up pushing through those highs. But this one, you've already broken through these equal structures right here, this little consolidation zone. We could probably expect maybe a tiny little pullback before getting the continuation up. if that's something we're interested in trading. And for this one, for Euro AUD, yeah, so this right here is a head and shoulders, shoulder, head, shoulder, retest of the neckline, retest of the EMA, retest of previous structure, continuation to the upside, okay? It's already retest. Like right now is the time. Like this isn't a signal. No, I'm not hopping in the trade with you. So I'm not going to tell you guys to enter, but it's not a bad place to enter the trade at all. If you were to enter, say you enter right here, the ideal stop loss would be below this structure point. Even better stop loss would be below this one. But if I was to get in, I would probably pick like a 20-point stop loss, 20 pip stop loss below this EMA right here. I'm willing to take the loss if it does push this low in order to get a better risk to reward out of the trade. I would probably target this structure right here for a 1 to 3, something like this. Now, do realize that the 2-hour time frame can push down all the way to right here and then still have the continuation to the upside. You have to understand that that is still a possibility, and you have to accept that risk. You're not really buying from a daily area of interest. Well, are you? Let's see. I guess this could count as a daily area of interest right here. So you have 1, 2, 3 structure point at least. If you want to make it bigger, then you have 4, maybe 5. So I guess you're kind of buying off of a daily area of interest. Like I said, easy trade right here, 1 to 1. I mean, that's almost guaranteed. If price hits your stop loss, then we were wrong about the entire move. But yeah, that's a fun, free little trade breakdown for you guys if you're interested. Euro NZD, Euro AUD, we already talked about that one. Euro CAD. So just like we talked about yesterday, price had shifted bullish. We pulled back and we started to create bullish structure. Now, I talked about price maybe coming back into the EMA. We clearly didn't do that. All we did was we pulled back into this little wick right here, and then we pushed up. So overall daily time frame is bearish. We retested the daily EMA. Weekly time frame is bullish. 4-hour time frame is bullish. So this is where we went bullish on the 4-hour. We created a pullback into the double top or double bottom. And then we had the actual reaction to the upside. Really, really good trade overall. We didn't catch it, but we did expect it to happen, and it happened the way we wanted it to. Now, what can we expect? Well, we have the 4-hour structure, which is right here. So we are bullish from here all the way up to here. Price can realistically pull back and retest these structures and push up. That would be the best case scenario. Similar to the way we did right here, where we broke through, we pulled back into the EMA, and then we sold. So we broke through, we pulled back into the EMA, and then we buy. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm going to be looking for if price is able to make that move to the downside. Okay, Euro GBP is bullish on the daily time frame. On the weekly time frame, excuse me. Daily time frame is currently bearish, so we created a lower low, and now we are on the way to either create the next lower low, or what I think is going to happen, we're going to create a move to the upside. Excuse me. So what's going on here? Euro GBP. Now, Euro and GBP move very similarly when they're side by side, but this is Euro GBP. Like this is both of them against each other. So this is not going to be comparable to anything else like we have been comparing the other pairs to each other. Um, Weekly time frames bullish. I'm expecting buys, obviously, but I'm not liking the way we had the reaction to the upside, and now we're pulling back very, very aggressively. Ideally, we would be trading above this EMA. That's kind of what I was expecting when I marked this up, pull back into the EMA and then a reaction to the upside. We've clearly pulled back a little bit more aggressively than needed. If we can get a push up and then a pullback and then an engulfing, then we can take this to the upside. Honestly, I'm not too interested. So we're just going to toss this down here. Euro JPY. Okay. So JPY pairs, as I explained, I think are going to go bullish. Weekly time frame is bullish. Daily time frame created this higher high. And now we are pulling back into where we might be able to buy from. Okay. So what we were expecting to see is a shift to the upside on the 4 hour time frame. That did not happen. We are still kind of trading sideways. Now, this shows me that the sellers, oops, this shows me that the sellers are getting exhausted. They're not selling as nicely as they were a few days ago. See some of these other JPY pairs. Yeah, so here you can already see CHF JPY. I think this is my second favorite pair. Is already having the bullish reaction. So the 4 hour is already about to go bullish. Therefore, we probably just going to see a pullback to buy. Euro JPY, same thing. All we're waiting for is the reaction to the upside, pullback to buy. And then you just target this most recent structure for a nice easy 1 to 2 or 1 to 3. So that's still an option. CHF JPY, like I just looked at, same thing. Very, very clean. Pullback to buy. Weekly time frame is bullish. Same thing as Euro JPY. Daily time frame is bullish. Same thing as Euro JPY. Only thing is you're not buying from any previous structure or any area of interest. You're just buying from the EMA. So understanding that, maybe risking a little bit less, you can take this trade. Now, if you're going to take this trade and expect it to play out like every other trade you take from a daily area of interest, you might be disappointed if you take the loss. But if you take the loss knowing that this is where you're buying from, then you're fine, you know? Okay, so we already went over these. Not terribly interested in those. Not interested here. Still waiting on this. NZD CAD. NZD CAD had a bearish engulfing weekly candle. Then we pulled back into previous structure. We had a strong reaction to the downside initially, and then we kind of pulled back, and now we're stuck at this area. Now, price does do this sometimes, where it has multiple reactions from an area of interest, and then it actually sells. What I would like to see is price potentially breaking below this structure point and then pulling back to create like a double or to create a head and shoulders pattern, or just to show us that the sellers are in control once again. Because from here, we could just continue creating higher high, higher high, higher high, and buying. However, if we see something like this, where we have a strong reaction to the downside, and then we pull back, and then we continue, that would be fantastic. So I don't know. These two structures are very, very similar as well. If you look at them, what do we see? We see price selling aggressively, pull back, sell, strong pullback, continuation. Strong sell, pull back, sell, strong. Wait, did I mess those up? I said strong buy, strong sell. Okay. We had a pretty aggressive buy, and now we might see the continuation to the downside. These are almost like mirror copies of each other. If they are copies of each other, then the next step is 2, 3 more bearish candles, and we'll see the continuation happening really, really soon, today or tomorrow. But we have to be conservative, careful, and responsible. So if you want to be safe, then you wait for price to break underneath the EMA, retest the EMA, and then engulf on a lower time frame, that would be the safest bet. So break underneath, you have a shift of structure on the 1 hour time frame, retest of previous structures, previous wicks, EMA, and sell. Okay, that's exactly what I would be looking for here. Sell, retest, sell. We're bearish on most all time frames. We have this nice little wick that needs to get filled in. So this trade to me is almost free, considering this wick here was created. So NZD CAD, we'll toss at the top for now. AUD USD. AUD USD, weekly time frame. We had a very strong sell into the EMA, and then we had a very strong reaction from the EMA. Weekly time frame, daily time frame. We were above the EMA. We sold underneath the EMA. We pulled back into previous structure, into area of interest, and we sold. Now, what is happening? Two things can happen now. One, we see a pullback that is deeper and retesting the EMA properly, retesting previous structure properly with a full candle and then a doji and then a sell. Second option, we maintain bearish structure on the 4 hour time frame, meaning we don't break below this, we don't break above this high. And we just continue to sell from where we are, creating a double top looking pattern from where we might break below, retest this area, which is previous structure, the neckline of this double top, and continue to sell. So this one, a little bit iffy in my eyes. Let's see these lower time frames. Well, I do like the way the lower time frames look. Now, the difference is, if you notice, our nice sells always happen right underneath the EMA, right underneath the EMA. So if that's the case, what do we need? We need to see price. In fact, if you look at my Confluence tool, I made this like custom Confluence set for myself. Has price shifted past 30-minute EMA? Yes or no? So it is always best to be trading with that 30-minute EMA. Do I always use that? No, I don't always do that. But let's check the trades that I took this week. Underneath the 30-minute EMA, underneath the 30-minute EMA. Okay, so those are winners because the EMA was in our favor. I will say that. Now here we did break above, but we took our sell when we were underneath. Because price does break above, it does, but then it sells back below. Okay, so that's what I would wait for on AUD USD. If we're going to take sells, I would wait for price to break below the 30-minute EMA, give us a quick pullback, and then sell. Okay. NZD USD, you guessed it, is the same exact thing. Very, very nice trade we took here. Daily time frame was selling, weekly time frame selling, 4 hour time frame creating bearish market structure, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high in this area, because we can't break above this structure, otherwise the 4 hour will go bullish. Now, if the 4 hour does go bullish, it might only be short term, in order, kind of like this, where we broke above this structure point only to retest the EMA, and then we sold once more. So it's not terrible if price goes bullish on the 4 hour. We might be retesting this EMA or area of interest, which would honestly be for the best, I would say. If price could retest this area of interest, that would be fantastic. Which honestly I might be waiting for. That's actually exactly what I'm waiting for. Sorry. I want to be trading from kind of like this, where we had very nice sells, and then we slowed down, and then we turned around, and then we pulled back into previous structure, into the EMA, where we got closer to the EMA, and then we finally sold again. That's what we could be seeing happening for the rest of the week. where for the rest of the week we pull back. We have a bullish candle just like this. So we end up closing bullish. Next week we create a little wick and then we just sell. That would be best case scenario. Second best case scenario is the same thing as AUD USD, where we just sell immediately from where we are. We just wait for a little shift underneath the 30-minute EMA, break and retest, and we continue to sell, okay? AUD CAD. AUD CAD, weekly time frame, bullish. Daily time frame, bearish. 4-hour time frame, bearish. Now, this is the situation that we are in. Okay, we have a bunch of confluences going in both directions. For buys, we have the weekly time frame in our favor, and we have the daily EMA in our favor, right? The daily EMA does a lot of work here. For sells, we have the daily time frame is bearish and the 4-hour time frame is bearish, okay? Another thing for sells, we have this area of interest on the 4-hour. We're creating a double top right here. But we also have a double bottom, another thing to consider. So for buys, I would like to take buys above this area of interest, break and retest above and buy. For sells, I want to see the sells happening underneath the area of the EMA. Break, retest, sell. Okay, kind of like right here. Is it going to happen twice in a row? Who knows? Maybe. Maybe we'll sell right into this area, create a third structure, and then buy right back. Maybe we'll create a triple bottom. But yeah, that's the breakdown for that pair. Sells underneath the 30-minute EMA, much riskier than the buys. If we are patient, we can take those buys above the area of interest here. Now, another thing to consider is we will be buying against two time frames, which would be the daily and the 4-hour. However, when one shifts, both shift. They both have the same structure point. Yeah. AUD NZD. AUD NZD weekly time frame is bullish. Daily time frame is bullish. Now, I had marked this up for buys above and sells below. That does not change. We have a double top. We have a double bottom. We're kind of stuck in this little range. I'm not going to trade it until it breaks out of this range. We have so many other pairs that we're looking at. So why would we mess with this, right? For sells, we would be selling into the EMA, into previous structure. Why do I say that? Because we don't have an area of interest anywhere near us. We're kind of trading in the middle of nowhere. If we're going to be taking buys in the middle of nowhere, I want to take buys above structure in the middle of nowhere. If we're going to be taking sells in the middle of nowhere, I want to be taking sells underneath a structure in the middle of nowhere, okay? It's not an area of interest. It is just previous structure. GBP CAD, same thing here. We're kind of trading inside of this little pizza triangle looking shape. And we're just stuck inside of it. We haven't broken above this area of interest. We haven't broken below this area of interest in recent price action history. Since September, we haven't broken through this area. So what can we expect? I expect buys. Overall, bullish structure. Just in Coinbase to list BNB. Not sure what that is. Bullish structure on the weekly time frame, daily time frame. Wait. Yeah. Bullish structure on the daily time frame and bullish structure on the 4-hour time frame. Now, if you notice, you could have taken an amazing trade here, right? You could have taken an amazing short-term trade. Weekly time frame is bullish, daily time frame is bullish, 4-hour time frame went bullish right here, right? We were bearish, lower low, lower low, lower low, shift the structure, pull back, retest of this trend line, and we just took off immediately from here. Now, this would be your take profit. You're not going to be buying past this area. In case price does react and sell back down, you don't want to be stuck in that move. Once again, I'm not interested until we break and retest above this area. That's why I'll be taking buys. GBP CHF. Okay, this is what I was looking at, GBP CHF. Weekly time frame, bearish. Daily time frame, bearish. 4-hour time frame. We have this trend line. We pulled back into the trend line, we sold. We pulled back into the EMA, we sold. We probably will continue to sell, right? Because we're very, very bearish. Now, only issue is we have a strong reversal zone. People were trying to take buys out of this zone. Silly, 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 silly people. Why would you try to catch a trade going against all major structure? Maybe if you had broken above the 4-hour EMA or above the daily EMA, then you can take buys. Even then, not a great idea. I would say if you're above the 4-hour EMA, then you have a better chance at taking buys than you are sells. Just like here, broke above, retested, bought for short term, sold underneath, sold, broke above, retested, bought, fantastic. Until that happens, there are no sells available here. Until you break above, retest, buy, there is zero selling available. So right now, you're in a perfect place to take sells until those buys present themselves. And even then, you'll be taking very, very counter trend trade buys. The best trade here is the sell. Stop loss right here. And I don't know where you would target. That's the biggest issue is one, you might see a lot of choppiness inside of this area of interest. Two, where the heck is your profit target going to be? This wick right here, like down here, I don't know. Price hasn't reached this area since October of 2022, right? Not really looking the best for GBP CHF. Not interested. CAD CHF. Weekly time frame, bearish. Daily time frame was bullish short term. Now we are bearish. Well, actually, we never closed. Daily candle still hasn't closed here. But daily time frame is bullish. 4-hour time frame is bearish. We created a lower low, lower high, lower low. That is a structure point. There is another one. So this is your most recent structure in order to create the next lower low. What can we expect now? Well, I'm not going to be taking buys because we're at the lowest point in this market's history. Pull back to previous structure to sell. Both it isn't an area of interest. You only have one structure point here, but it is a previous daily structure point, which is good enough for a pair that is moving to the lowest point in its history. Okay. The only issue is where's your profit target going to be? Once again, I asked that question. Your best bet is to take a pullback and then sell right back into the structure that created the pullback. Not interested. NZD CHF, once again, lowest point in price action history. We took a nice sell here, and price has continued to sell since then. Daily time frame is also bearish. Sold. I was waiting for a pullback into previous structure. That didn't happen. Continued to sell. 4-hour time frame. This is exactly what I'm talking about on CAD CHF. You can see how here we broke through, created a lower low. Then we had this area of interest. We pulled right back in, and then we sold very, very nicely. I expect the same thing to happen here. We sold nicely. We pull back previous structure, area of interest on the 4-hour, and we continue to sell. Okay. What are we expecting to happen here? Nothing. I mean, just a continuation to the downside, quick pullback into this little structure point to sell. Not interested. JPY pairs are the last on our list. Weekly time frame, bullish. Daily time frame, bullish. 4-hour time frame, bearish. So we have created lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. We are underneath the 4-hour EMA. We are creating bearish structure. We are at finally reached both a weekly and a daily area of interest. Now, price can do one of two things now. It can either pause right here, create a doji, and just explode to the upside, or push a little bit lower, actually retesting the EMA, and then have the push up, okay? Both are completely fine. When do we take this trade? We take this trade when price decides to break above the EMA, to break above previous structure, go bullish on the 4 hour, give us a pullback into EMA or area of interest, and then push up. Okay. So these ones, all JPY pairs are going to look the same. My favorite, I think I already picked out, were Euro JPY and CHF JPY. Those two are two of my favorites. CAD JPY is also a good one now that we have retested weekly and daily area of interest. This is going to be my third favorite JPY pair. So let's go ahead and go over all of this stuff. NZD CAD. NZD CAD is ready to sell basically. This one needs a pullback. Let's toss this at the bottom for now. GBP USD, waiting for a pullback to buy. Euro USD, we already had the pullback. We're kind of just ready to buy. GBP USD, same thing. A nice quick little pullback would be nice, but we're kind of just ready to buy from here. Here would be nice to see a pullback. Same thing here. We're basically just waiting to take some buys. We already broke above the EMA. We already pulled back into the head and shoulders pattern. Realistically, this one's ready to buy as well. Same thing with this one. EuroCAD, we were waiting for a pullback into previous structure to buy. These ones need a shift the structure to buy. This one is already having the shift the structure, so we just need a pullback to buy. And then we have CHF JPY was also needs a shift the structure pullback to buy. And then this one just needs a very, very large pullback to sell. Okay. Whether that's previous structure or this structure or EMA, doesn't really matter. We just can't be selling from right here because it makes no sense. Okay. So that's basically it for this call, ladies and gentlemen. Do you guys have any questions? Let me stop the recording.